Okay, hello, here we are trying again. We've had some technical challenges here, but there we are. We're back. So I'll be sharing today some of the deeper teachings of Ho'oponopono, what it actually really means to say those four statements, the depth and the roots beyond just the words, and some of the key principles that help us to be able to embody the Ho'oponopono, because Ho'oponopono is really a way of life. It's not just a practice, it's a way of being that we end up incorporating into our everyday life and relationships and situations that can help keep us aligned. So for me, Ho'oponopono it's like an antenna. The moment I decide to do Ho'oponopono, I'm aligned. It's like, it's one of those moments of making a decision. Am I going to go with my emotion and my reaction, or am I going to go with something higher that I don't even know what that looks like yet, but I'm choosing it anyways? And so when I tune into the Ho'oponopono, it's like, okay, this is my choice. And when I make that choice, my makia, my attention is directed towards finding a solution. It's directed towards coming to a place of harmony. It's directed towards creating love and being present and being aware. And that's basically my PAL system: presence, awareness, and love. And those are three of the main principles in the Hawaiian Ho'oponopono. And so I'm going to share this information as I have written here to empower you, to empower your new momentum forward, to help unlock entanglement. I'm going to teach you the statement of immunity that my teachers taught me for instantly disentangling from any mental stirrings that are entrapping you. And I'm going to teach you some combination of the heart math and the Ho'oponopono, a technique, a breathing technique that you can do every day. And what's important about this is to really do it every day, to practice it in the morning, practice in the evening. So you're prepping your body so that you have this tool ready and waiting for you at any moment when you need it to realign. And then I'm going to share if there's any resonance to want to work with me individually, either in person at my retreat center or online with my online courses, or I have some videos too, video courses, then I'll explain that a little bit in the end. But my focus is really just to deliver information right now. And for me, it's just going to be like a minute at the end to say, here, if you want to do this, this is how you can do it. Because I'm not here to sell, but I am here to share, and I'm here to empower and do what I can to bring this aloha, this love back to life in all the areas of living. So I'm really grateful to be here. Many, many years ago, I had the idea to do online coaching, right? Doing these classes. And it took about, I guess the first idea was about 10 years ago. And then the next idea came 4 years ago. And then the next idea 2 years ago. And then a year and a half ago, I started doing it. And so this is, I think, just my fourth or my fifth one. And so I'm still new here. So any technical things that happen, or if I don't notice something, if I don't notice you in the chat, I apologize. I'll keep trying to remember to go back to that. But it's still a piece that's not completely programmed into me to have that fluidity as many other people have developed through all their years of experience. And I'm happy to be able to be here because many years ago, the complex trauma that affected me, I felt like I had my dreams, and I've always had a gift of healing since I was a little girl. I've always had an attunement to nature. I've always had an attunement to higher realms of thinking and being and feeling, but I didn't know how to define that then. I was just a little girl and a teenager. It wasn't until my 20s when I started meeting masters and other teachers, I was like, oh, that's why I feel what I feel. Oh, that makes sense. Now I understand. And so then my life was all about, okay, how do I use this to heal my own trauma so that I can come back home to myself, where I had felt so interrupted and fragmented from the things that had taken place, that interrupted my joy, interrupted my true nature. And as life went on in my 20s and 30s, I kept reattracting the situations that were bringing those traumas again and again to the forefront until I was able to actually resolve and heal within myself. And now I'm here. And so I'm really committed to share, because I know the territory, I know the anguish, I know the despair, I know the pain, I know the confusion, I know what it feels like. And I know what it feels like to be in a narcissistic abusive relationship. That was one of the things that happened to me. So I also specialize helping women to get out of narcissistic relationships, rebuild after them, and create a healthier lifestyle, because I've been there. I grew up with a narcissist. My mother was a narcissist, God bless her, but she passed away now. And she was my biggest teacher in narcissism. And I was able to find a way to create a loving path with her in the end. But yeah, so I have a lot of experience in that realm as well. And so to be in a place that I am now, that I feel so free inside myself and so whole, I'm happy to be here, and I'm that example of possibility for you, for everybody, wherever you might be feeling there's congestion, tightness, insecurity, fear. It's all just temporary, and it's all just cues for change. That's it. We often feel that, pain and conflict are things to be avoided, but actually those are the instigators and the catalysts for evolution and transformation. And if they didn't exist, there wouldn't be anything. And so a big part of my work is helping to reframe that understanding, so that we're not afraid of conflict, that we don't go like this to conflict, and we don't go like this to, pain. Instead, we go like, oh, wow, what's that? So we develop curiosity and interest into what are the reactions that get activated in me when I'm in this environment or with this person. How do I discern what's mine, what's theirs? Right? And how do I understand that, okay, what's theirs is activating me. So then what is it in me? So then I can clean it in me, which is the Ho'oponopono, right? And then my cleaning it in me lessens that frequency in the environment, which then influences my environment and the people in it. So I'm really grateful to be here, all to say that. And fireworks, I love fireworks, and I love celebrating life. So here we go. Let's begin to shed some light and new insights to inspire you to live your best life. I made these slides because they're so beautiful with nature, and I could have my face just be front and center, but I think having these images of nature is just a beautiful imprint to have during the trainings, and so that's why I do it this way. Okay, so alchemy. Let's look at alchemy. What is alchemy? I'm just going to turn that box away here. Sorry, I had the screen open there. So alchemy, it seems like a magical process of transforming and creating something out, like one thing out of another substance. In the olden days of the Wicca, which what we call now witches, but they were really the shaman medicine women back then. The Wicca, the word Wicca means to wield, to bend, to transmute the negative into the positive, right? So to transmute illness into health, to transmute negativity into beneficial positive forces and energy within self and within the world. And so the other way we know alchemy is, the process of the philosopher's stone, right? Transforming base metals into gold. So this is that's the alchemy that most of us know about, right? But it's the action of transformation and transmutation. As Einstein said, you cannot destroy or create energy. You can only transform it. And so that is a really beautiful thing, because then I know that at any moment I have the power to transform my inner world just through my thoughts, just through my focus, just through my direction. It's not easy, because we've got this pull of a gravity that wants to pull us into our negativity and our darkness and our fears, but we do have that power. And when we can strengthen that muscle, then we can start to embrace the paradox of life rather than fight it. Because when I'm in the paradox, I'm in between the good, the bad, the right, the wrong. I'm okay, I'm not okay, I'm loved, I'm not loved, I'm enough, I'm not enough. All of these things where we are, we get pulled back and forth within ourselves. And in that, we don't have any solid footing. So one of the Hawaiian teachings is to embrace the paradox, to come home to the duality within, and to use the duality, to leverage it, to cultivate and create life, new possibilities, understanding, wisdom, new creations. We're artists. Innately, we're all artists. We're designed to be artists, to improvise in life, to create. But we lose touch with that when we get caught in trauma and when we get caught in the systems that have been made that kind of squash that part of us out, unless we have a strong rebel soul that we keep pushing through, right? And then, or then it comes out later after being squashed, right? So we always feel like when we've had to suppress a part of us, that there's something more, there's something more, there's something more, but we don't know what it is. And in my situations where I was in different times of my life too, is like, and it can be infuriating to feel, I know there's something more, but how do I get there? How do I change my reality? How do I bring into my life the embodiment of what I know deeply in my being is there and is true? But yet when I'm faced with the regular world or my partner, past partners, not my current one, or environments that makes me shrink and then I hold myself back. We're not meant to hold ourselves back. We're meant to blossom. We're meant to thrive like nature. So the alchemy of consciousness is to transform, to take the dense and transform it into something more elevated, to take my fear and transform it into an elevated insight, to transform it into knowledge, to wisdom that helps me move forward. Because when we stay trapped in fear, there's no movement. And movement is the key to everything. We need to be in motion. When I was living in Thailand and I was going through a really traumatic time, and I came across this guy when I was walking across the island, and I was sharing, I was discovering my childhood traumas and the patterns that I had created. I was 20 years old, and I was discovering that, oh, wow, because of this situation, I decide I make myself sick to know that I'm loved. And that was a huge insight for me at that time. And there was a breakup with my partner, and my whole world was just falling apart. And I was walking across the island, Koh Phangan, and I came across this guy, and his name was Raphael, and he said to me, I shared what I was going through. He says, the most important thing, just stay in movement, keep moving, stay in action, do something with your hands, create, write, do something, move, and then everything will come into place. And that piece of wisdom carried me through so many more storms, so many more challenges that were, ready for me. And I was ready for, now that I had that information, even though sometimes I was barely holding on with a lifeline, but that piece really helped me. I need to stay in movement, right? And one way of movement is constantly to breathe. So with the Ho'oponopono, I'll be teaching you breath work too. Even that is enough to bring movement. Even if you're not going to go dance or walk, just taking a breath, it's enough movement to catalyze your inner world, your soul, your cells, your chemistry, to shift gear. So transformation is the moment where we make a choice and we turn it into something else. I turn my anger into humor, maybe. I turn my pain into joy. And we get to that point, and then boom, and then it's done, and then it's changed. And it can happen instantly, and then it can also happen sometimes over a period of time. We just have to repeat. And then after many repetitions, boom, then it clicks and then it holds. And that's a part of the process too. We remember and we forget. We remember and we forget. And that's normal. And we need to be okay with that. And let that be what it is, and understand that each time that we do remember again to use the tools that we have and to connect to that force of soul and light that is our foundation, then the gap of remembering and forgetting gets smaller and smaller and smaller until you can transform really quickly. And there's not a problem in doing that. And this is one of my favorite quotes, another quote that a friend gave me that I met in that same time period as I was going through what I was going through. The ore in the fire feels itself unfairly treated, but the pure gold looking back knows better. The ore in the fire feels itself unfairly treated, but the pure gold looking back knows better. That's another one that stayed with me since my 20s. And if you feel into it, even if you look at your life right now and you look back at a situation where you were crushed in despair, in anguish, in fear, in doubt, but now you made it through and you're here. And now when you go look back, you can say, I learned this because I went through that. Or because I went through this new door opened. So a lot of our experiences are actually beyond what we can perceive in the moment we're having them. Like the ore, it can't perceive what it's going to be like to be pure gold. Has no idea. And it's the same with us. We're unable to perceive what is it going to be like in the moment. And that's okay. We can't see it. But when we know that, and we know that, but I'm going to keep moving. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep moving. That's my action. Not buying into my stories, not buying into my fears, just moving the way love would move me, moving the way the innate intelligence in me would have me move. And then we get through the storms, and then we come out like the gold after the ore. And so I already shared a little bit of my journey here. It was very, yeah, definitely a journey of a messy rebel. So I've traveled all over the world. I've had several different businesses that I've started and reached a certain level of success and then changed and did something else. I had a lot of emotional trauma that dysregulated me. It used to dysregulate me where I could, as we're speaking with one of the attendees here at this training, she was saying that, there'd be reactions that would come up and they'd harm the people around them, right? And I'm not saying names here because this recording will be, watched by other people too. So I'm just leaving it in this way. And so I had that, and I used to be really confused. I'd be like, where the heck did I go? Who is this person? Where did all this anger come from? Where did all this rage come from? And I didn't understand it. And I knew in my mind, okay, I have trauma, I have stuff like that, but that wasn't enough to get to the root of it, to pull it out of me and to wash it clean so that I can gain mastery over my own subconscious mind and no longer be victimized, because we're never a victim, but we can feel victimized, no longer feel victimized by my subconscious, unconscious pain patterns that would, erupt like a volcano in the most, unexpected moments and for the smallest things sometimes too. So anybody who's watching this, just know you feel that you're not alone. And it happens to more of us than people admit, right? Because we have this idea that this is how we have to be accepted and loved. And so we hide and we tuck these parts away, but that's why they get more explosive, because we're not bringing them to the surface to be loved, to be witnessed, to be experienced. And so there was a mystery school that I was initiated in many years ago. And one of the teachings that they taught that I really love, it's like probably the main one that I've really hung on to since then, is that when you really understand, so this is generally our conscious mind, right? 95% of our conscious actions are run by our subconscious mind. Look at this, it's like Pac-Man, right? Our subconscious mind has more power over our conscious mind. So this is why we need to be self-aware, so that we can shift the ratio. The more I learn about my subconscious and my patterns and everything, the more conscious I become, the smaller, less power my subconscious has over me, so that when a subconscious pattern comes up, I can nourish myself and heal myself, take over the subconscious patterns there, like Pac-Man, right? So that's the whole purpose. That's the whole reason why we do this work, is so that we can shift that ratio, so that I'm more conscious than I'm unconscious. Because when we're unconscious, that's when we cause the most harm, both to ourselves and to everybody around us. So becoming conscious is so, so, so important, self-aware, and being accountable. And Ho'oponopono, one of the foundational principles of Ho'oponopono is soul sovereignty. It's being accountable, 100% accountable for everything I experience and witness in life. It means that I am an authority over me and only over me. I'm not an authority over somebody else. And that means I'm not an authority over somebody to have pity for them either. One of my other elders said, he said, never have pity for somebody when you see them suffering, because that's a very low vibration. He said, instead, see the God light behind the soul, behind the struggle, and see that there is a soul within there, and give it the power, give it the awareness and the focus so that it is nourished. Otherwise, we're just nourishing the circumstance and the story that we're seeing and that we're writing about the person. But all of us are souls here on a learning journey. This is a school of learning in duality. So we can send love, and we can send courage, and we can send kindness, but never pity. Because the moment I'm pitying somebody, I'm putting myself in a place of authority, thinking I know what's going on in their world and why it's going on, and I don't. It's beyond me. And I have to be humble to say, I don't know. Holo holo. That's what we say in Hawaii. Holo holo. I don't know. It's the divine, I don't know. It's not a self-deprecating, I don't know. It's, I don't know. It's the honesty, I don't know. And because I don't know, and I'm only in authority over me, I'm just going to observe with love, knowing that within that sovereign being, there is a soul, there is a light somewhere, somehow. And I'm just going to say, hey, I see you. And that's one of the ways that we disentangle. I see you. I see beyond the sandstorm or the entanglements. And that way we're honoring our authority over self, our soul sovereignty, and the soul sovereignty of another. Another person I've heard say, karma is when we start, entangling our stories, right? When we write a story, it creates karma. So to become a consciousness alchemist, this word came to me once when I was introduced on a podcast, and I really liked it. It's to shift our consciousness from this to this, from unconscious conscious to unconscious conscious. And so Ho'oponopono is a huge tool with that. And the first message of that is soul sovereignty, accountability. I am accountable for everything I experience and everything I witness. I am in relationship with life. Life is not outside of me. It's within me and all around me. And when I see a conflict happening somewhere, I can see it, and I'll do my Ho'oponopono. I'll say, wherever there is that in me, or wherever I'm holding a frequency that's enabling that, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, because we're all connected and it's beyond us. So there's a lot of humility in this journey. And it's a lifelong journey. And one of the things that I love about Hawaii too is the shamanism there. It's called the way of the adventurer, not the way of the warrior, the way of the adventurer. It's about exploration and discovery. So taking on a mindset and a soul set of exploration and discovery, fun over fear, right? Fun over fear. Have fun in the journey rather than fearing the journey. And these are the alchemies we want to learn to do in ourselves. We want to transform hatred and anger into love and compassion. We want to transform pain to joy. We want to transform intolerance into kindness, confusion to clarity, anxiety to harmony, and depression into wisdom, and purpose and power as well. So here are the three main elements that, for me, kickstart the whole process. And then there's other elements that come in to deepen and enrich the process. But first, we need to have presence, and and that presence leads us to awareness, and that awareness leads us to love, in order to catalyze the transformations that we're looking for, that can create and influence the new momentum, and to bring the experience of the true freedom that we have already within, and the empowerment we already have. We don't need to find freedom. We already have it, but we need to access it. We need to know how to use it. We need to know how to identify it. And this is how I use the word healing in the original way. The original Latin definition, integrare, the process of making or becoming sound or healthy again, to integrate and to make whole, to restore our sense of inner wholeness. So healing, yes, there's a metaphysical, esoteric element to it, but this is really fundamentally what it is. It's restoring to our wholeness. And that integration, I was mentioning before, we were talking before the call about our two operating systems. We have the operating system of our nervous system, and we have the operating system of our soul and our consciousness, our higher consciousness. And they have two completely different programs, but they are a part of us. So we need to find a way to bring them into harmony with each other, that they're working with each other as they're designed to do. I understand, I feel they are designed to work together, but we've pitted the two realities against each other. We've made them separate, which they are not. We are here in this physical form as a soul, as a being. There's a reason we have these two elements. When we are a soul and we pass on, we already know everything we need to know, but we're here in this body for a reason. And it's here to serve us. Our ego is here to serve us too. But it got confused. And instead the ego and the mind has been ruling us and squashing, I like that word squashing, because that's how it's always felt with me. Like, it squashes, squashing the natural impulses and directions that our soul is always giving us, the whispers, right, of that innate wisdom within us. So healing is, for me, bringing the light and the dark together. It's embracing the paradox. It's bringing the opposites together in a way that they're sovereign, but they're working together in a way that enhances life and brings new creation and goodness, which is what we're here to do. That's our contribution. Our contribution to life is love and creating from that source of wholeness within us. So in here, I wanted to just give the definition to the pain that we are often avoiding with our shadow side. And for me, a shadow is not a bad, scary thing. It's not the boogeyman. It's simply the, ostracized, exiled parts of ourselves that we're not given presence and awareness and love from our external world, most likely when we were children. That's where it starts. That it just grew and festered and festered and festered. And so we are afraid to feel that pain, which is one reason why we tend to keep looping in the same patterns, even though it's uncomfortable, because meeting pain and emotional pain is very difficult, right? So physical pain is the unpleasant sensory and emotional experience associated with or resembling that associated with actual or potential tissue damage. I took that out of the dictionary. And then the emotional pain is the state of feeling broken that involved the experience of being wounded, loss of self, disconnection, and critical awareness of one's more negative attributes. So those are the things that we're working with. Every one of us on this call, we're always meeting places whenever there's a trigger. What's behind the trigger is emotional pain. But because we don't know how to feel emotional pain safely, we resort to anger. We resort to violence. Or, contrary, we shut down completely. So to really understand that every trigger that happens to you in your life, it's a feedback system. And it's a part of life saying, look here, we need healing here. We need love here. We need to find the tools to be able to heal this part of us so that we don't feel broken anymore. So again, we can come back to our wholeness, right? And then there's the metaphysical understanding of pain. And I chose an excerpt from Khalil Gibran's book, The Prophet, and his writing about pain. And so for me, pain, and for the mystics, and it's an alchemical catalyst to awaken enlightenment and cultivate wisdom. Your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. Even as the stone of the fruit must break, that its heart may stand in the sun, so must you know pain. And could you keep your heart in wonder at the daily miracles of your life, your pain would not seem less wondrous than your joy. When I was 18, I had a friend gift me this book, The Prophet, and it became my Bible and my guiding light through all my darker moments. And so having this concept of pain being a catalyst for me to know myself changed how I handled pain. And it doesn't mean I didn't break down. I broke down many times. But that light, like I was saying in the conversation before the call, if we're going in the dark, we need a light. And so this was one of my lights that helped me to process some very, very painful things that, not many people would be able to process. And that's not said lightly, but I'm not going to get into that part of my story here. But pain, when you can embrace your pain and see it as a guide to your inner self, rather than something that's trying to take away from you, it changes. And it's not a common perception, but it works. And we're going into the paradox of healing. I already touched into this about embracing the friction. So if there's not two contrary, contrasting objects rubbing, like two sticks, there will be no flame. And so triggers are that rub. And the person who's triggering us is the gift giving us the insight into ourself about this trigger. And all of this is important because this is what Ho'oponopono is about. We need to gain mastery over our triggers, but we need to understand what is my trigger? Where is it coming from? And why is there duality? You know, what good is duality? Well, if there's no duality, there's no life. There's no dark, there's no light, there's nothing. And so again, coming home to embracing the paradox, allowing both to exist. They have their place, they have their purpose. And me, I'm in the center of choice of how do I use that friction? Do I use it, you know, like one tree in Berlin, I was walking down a street and I saw this tree and there was this fence and the tree had grown like through over part of the fence and the fence had ended up being its support structure. So the fence was in the way, but then the tree used it for its support, right? So how am I going to use this duality? How am I going to use this contrast to, again, be more self-aware, to be more kind, to be more loving towards myself, to others, to grow more humility and gratitude in life? How am I going to use this friction to teach me how to be me and to show me what I don't even know is inside of me, both creatively and destructively? It can go both ways, right? So the power of choice, the 𝗏𝗂𝘃 again. Where my attention goes, my energy flows, and that's what grows. And that's what evolves us. Oh, a little bug there. So the process of becoming your best pal, that's why I call it pal, because we need to be our best pal. We need to talk to ourselves like we talk to our best friends when we're in a dark place. And the fact is that most of us don't until we learn to. Right? I had a client, you know, recently, and I said to her when she was in a moment of self-judgment and pain, and I said, well, what would you do? How would you help your friend come through this, your best friend? And immediately she came back to herself. And it's like, this is what we need to remember. So this is the system for being your best pal. Cultivating the ability to bring presence, awareness, and love into the moments of challenges and distress through understanding trauma and trauma biology, breath work, affirmations, and visualizations. That's what I'm sharing with you here today. And manava, presence. I am now. This is one of my favorite principles of Hawaii. I am now. That's what it means. Not it is now. It's not abstract. It's not apart from me. I am now. And I am this flow of creation moving through me in this very moment. There is no past, there is no present when I'm in the manava. And if the past comes up, or the anxiety, fear, regret of the past, or anxiety of the future come up, I need to bring them into the manava, into the light of this moment, and use that to know myself better. Not to buy into the stories of the fear or the regret of the past, not to buy in the stories of the fear or anxiety of the future. I need to bring it into the manava and bring it into the light so I can look at it. I can observe. I can be aware. What is this? What is moving me in my subconscious here? I am now. This is my moment of power. This is my moment of choice. I need to learn to pivot. I love that word pivot. When I heard it the first time, I'm like, oh, I love that, because it's like dance, right? It's the dance of duality, I call it. So pivoting. I love that movement. So learning to pivot in the moments of contrast and challenge so that we are aligning with the power we have to affect change in the moment. Ike, awareness. I am aware. That is what Ike means. I am aware, awareness. That means when I'm present, I can be aware, to identify what I'm seeing as it is versus the way my imagination might be creating it, or my stories or my beliefs, right? So first I have to be present. And when I'm present, that's when I'm really able to have awareness of what is. Because the moment I'm buying into my stories or my beliefs, I'm no longer in awareness. I'm in a story. I'm in my own trance of my own dogmas, of my own beliefs, of my own fears. So 𝗏𝗂𝗃 is the power that is born of being present. I have to be present before I can be aware. I can't be in my past or my future. I have to be present before I can be aware. So we're wanting to ground that capacity in us through the Ho'oponopono. That's what it's doing, to have and cultivate awareness so that I can be present for what is fully, and I can take an action towards influencing it in the best way possible, which is love. That's the strongest influence. Love is kind, love is patient, right? What's the other one? Love in Khalil Gibran says, love wants not but itself, right? So it's like, love is that greater force. It's the highest state of consciousness, and expands us to open to life. Einstein said, yeah, love is God, God is life. And where there's love, there's gratitude. So when I can bring myself present through the Ho'oponopono, I bring myself into awareness, which means I'm realizing I'm sovereign, they're sovereign. This world is a reflection for me to meet me, and I'm a part of it. So therefore I can influence it by healing me, and healing me means bring myself into wholeness with my shadow and my light, turning my pain into joy, turning my anger into patience, into kindness, even humor. It's actually the best medicine for anger is humor, I find, for me. So love, so PAL, presence, awareness, and love. Those for me are the key principles that are at the root of the Ho'oponopono practice. And just to go into trauma, because sometimes people don't always understand that trauma is not just, horrible things. All it needs to be is something that interrupted our true nature once. And that interruption shut us down. And then we built layers and layers and layers and layers and layers and layers. And each of these layers is a dysfunctional pattern, a reaction pattern, a trigger pattern, right? And so we can't measure trauma by the what. We can only measure trauma by the impact it had. Somebody could have, a heavy duty thing happen and somehow it doesn't affect them. And somebody can have a tiny little, it seems like on the outside, just a small little experience, but it impacted them so strong. So the definition of trauma is no longer, even in somatic therapies and trauma therapies like the heart math and that, so trauma is not about what happened. It's the impact. What part of you did it shut down? How did it shut you down? How do you act out because of the way it shut you down? What is blocking your capacity to experience love and joy because that part got shut down? What got interrupted in your creativity and your potential because that got shut down? So this is really important to understand that, because oftentimes, and I've seen this, I did this myself before, and I've seen this with every client that's come through my door. Oh, but I didn't have such a bad childhood. Stuff happened, but no, I didn't have as bad as other people. So my trauma it's nothing. It's not even trauma. And then after a few hours of working together, they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea how that affected. That's what they say. And they see that they were traumatized, right? But we tend to deflect our trauma and trivialize it, because we think somebody who had something more major happen to them from the action than us, then we're like, oh, well, it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. But if it shut you down, it shut you down. There's a statement in trauma therapy, whether it was a bunny rabbit or a tiger that chased you off a cliff, you fell off the cliff. You fell. Some people might roll. Some people land on sharp rocks. Same cliff, different result, right? So we have to be really kind with ourselves, and also take a look at, well, where do I feel shut down? And then also, what environments open me up? What people open me up? So here's your brain. And this is just a bit of the trauma biology. And this is all important for the Ho'oponopono, because it's not just the statements. Those statements, the 4 statements, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. That's just the architecture of it, but there's all of the depth of it. It's understanding all this, because without understanding all this, it's just words. And even words, they have a power, but it's not as powerful as when you understand the foundation of your being, what's happening in your body when you're triggered, what's actually going on, and then how you can actually change it through the focus of love, presence, and awareness through Ho'oponopono, which then changes your frequency and immediately disentangles you. So this is your beautiful brain. I love this one with the pink colors and the blue. That's why I chose this. So most people don't know a whole lot about their brain, which is why I wanted to bring this in. And some of you are healing practitioners already, so I'm sure you already know. But I just like to say this for other people who are watching who don't fully understand, is that we have our limbic brain, the reptilian brain at the back, right? It's right here. And then we have our frontal cortex. And they have 2 completely different operating systems within them as well, the brain. So the amygdala and hippocampus and the limbic center, it's all about fight, flight, freeze, or survival. And when we have trauma, we tend to overdevelop this part of our brain. And it can interrupt the development of our frontal cortex. If in our childhood, we have had too much excessive trauma that we've just had to go into super fight or flight mode, or like even like narcissism, it comes from super trauma, major trauma that made the person shut down so much that they don't have any access to their frontal cortex anymore, which is where we have our common sense, knowing of what's right and wrong, and conscience, and all of this stuff, right? And the frontal brain is also for problem solving, seeing the broader view, intuition, insight, right? Putting pieces together, connecting the dots. And when we are in a trigger, this all blacks out. You see all this light here, just as a visual guide. It's like a blackout, and everything fires back here. And that's why when we get triggered, we're like, who is this person? I don't know this person. No, we don't. It is a different person. It's a different aspect of us. It's a different brain that's engaging reality. And that's why we need a technique. We need to have a way to bridge, to come back to the frontal cortex. And that's what I'm teaching you here today. And I'm hoping that this Ho'oponopono will give you a deeper connection to your own inner power to change your life, because that's really what it's there for. Okay. Here's another picture I put here, so we can just see the different parts of the brain right there, right? This is the reptilian brain. And this is the main frontal cortex. And these are the brain centers that I'm talking about here right now. And when I remember reading a study about, the world's worst criminals that have done the most horrific things, and when they did a brain scan on them, everything fired up here in the limbic brain, but the frontal center, like I'm saying, was blackout, but they saw that on a brain scan. So we need to understand this so that we're not hard on ourselves when it happens too, because it happens. We have trigger responses, and our body is doing what it's meant to do. It's designed to keep us safe. It's a 2 million-year-old brain. It works perfectly, but it's confused because it can't tell the difference between a real threat or an emotionally imagined threat. It's the same pathways, the same chemistry that gets activated, and that's what creates the confusion. So we need to have a conscious mind so we can direct and guide and then reassure. When the limbic brain gets kicked in, we can say, no, it's okay, we're safe. Because when we're in nature, I need my limbic brain to inform me right away, without a doubt, what tree I need to climb up when there's a tiger looking at me like dinner. If I didn't have my limbic brain to do that, I'd be sitting there with my brain, well, maybe that tree, or, oh, maybe I'll go to that tree, and then gobble, 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 I'm gone, right? So the limbic brain is doing what it's supposed to do. So there's nothing wrong with you. It's just a matter of learning to understand the mechanisms of you, the mechanisms of the brain, so that you can hold space for yourself and you can guide yourself through, so that you can bring yourself back online to the frontal cortex when there's trigger and conflict. So we're not creating more triggers and more conflict, which is what we tend to do. We escalate when we don't know better. And then we escalate until we get exhausted. And then, okay, then we rebuild, and then it builds up again, and then we get all exhausted, and then we go through this loop and this cycle until we actually go this much level deep to uncover and bring congruency and healing back into our world through our attention, through our focus, through our presence, right? Yeah, this is everything I just shared. Our evolved new brain is responsible for higher learning and thinking. So, and this is really important, pattern recognition. So 3 steps in changing. I first have to recognize my pattern. Then I have to interrupt it. And then I have to create a new pattern to replace it. These are the things we have to do when we have triggers. What is the pattern of my trigger? What's the most common conflict I come into? What does that pattern look like? What activates it? What can I do to interrupt it? Ho'oponopono and breath. Those are the things that can interrupt it the fastest, the breath, right? And then, so breathe, and then the technique, ho'oponopono, or another technique, whatever you use, right? So pattern recognition, pattern interruption with the breath. The breath is the thing that immediately affects our nervous system. Nothing is faster. So we have to become more conscious in our breathing, which I'm going to be sharing later. And then pattern creation. So what am I going to do once I start breathing? You can have many different things. I do ho'oponopono, I'll play my flute, I'll put on music, I'll go walk barefoot. I'll use aromatherapy. There's many things we can do, but the first step is always the breath, because we have that with us 24/7. We're never without it. That is our medicine. And that's what works. And so with ho'oponopono, you incorporate the breath. I'll teach you the heart math breath with the ho'oponopono. It has a really powerful effect. And here you go. I forgot about this cute slide. Do you know you were born with this superpower that is available for you to access in every moment of your life that can help you reset your nervous system and balance your brain? You know what it is? I already revealed it. It's your breath. Look at this beautiful picture. So let's start. I'm going to invite you to round your shoulders back, drop your jaw, and take a deep breath in for the count of 5. And then ha. So you're actually doing the ha. This is the lomi ha. The jaw's dropped. You'll feel your nervous system releases differently with this versus a breath, which is an action breath. It's a work breath. So in. And and also when you make the toning of the ha, you're toning your vagus nerve. So it helps bring your parasympathetic nervous system back online. Inhale. And exhale. Releasing, letting go. And now, as you're breathing, I'm going to teach you the ho'oponopono. So just keep breathing as I'm speaking, doing the in for 5 and out for 5. So when we're saying the I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, we're speaking to the divine element within the situation, the environment, or the person that we're seeing, or the conflict. We're not doing it directly to the personality or the sickness or the situation or the conflict, or like, you're mentioning the fires in Kelowna, no, in Calgary, I think it was. And, and so we're not sending it to the circumstance. We're sending it to the divine force, the omnipresent divine spark of all life that is everywhere all the time. And it's within the person we're having conflict. It's within us when we're having conflict with ourselves, right? It's within the situation where I'm seeing a couple fighting on the street or whatever is coming up. I'm appealing to the divinity within them. And I'm saying, I love you, to that divinity, to that God force. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the ways knowingly and unknowingly that I am a part of what I am seeing. Wherever there's a resonance in me that is similar to what I'm seeing, I'm sorry for my unconscious and conscious maybe part in this. Please forgive me. Please forgive me for all the ways that I have unknowingly and knowingly perpetuated this frequency, this energy, this feeling in my life through my actions, through my not knowing, because we're all connected. And if it's in my field, I'm a part of it. If I'm seeing it, I'm a part of it. World circumstances, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me for whatever my part is in this collective situation and circumstance that's happening in humanity or with a certain group of people or however. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, knowing that when we ask, we receive. Divinity, God, however way you define this intelligent force, we don't need to negotiate the name because this force existed long before we even had the thoughts to give it a name. So the name's really irrelevant, except for the fact that it creates like an antenna that aligns us, and that's important. And there's frequency, but ultimately we're wanting to go beyond the name to that source, to that frequency of consciousness that is beyond us, and yet it is us at the same time. So we're saying thank you, because we know that because we've asked, light and love is in motion. So now I want to invite you to bring up in your mind's eye something where you're feeling a situation, a relationship where you're feeling conflicted. And whatever that conflictedness, even if it's a conflict with your own self, you have a judgment towards yourself, then you say the Ho'oponopono to yourself, to that part of you there. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Breathing in for 5, out for 5, and now I'm bringing your attention now to your heart. Just going to go forward here. So place your hands over your heart and bring your 𝗏𝗂𝘂, your attention to your heart center. Tune into the rhythm of your breath and imagine, you can visualize as if you're breathing through your heart center. You're breathing and give it a color, give it a texture in and out. When you bring your attention to here, you're coming out of your mind. You're giving yourself a focus. Continue the I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And just feel the difference in your body. And also a really important one, I had one with a client recently where with family members and that, especially with family, we tend to think we can, we should tell each other what to do, or friends, or we have this idea that we know better than they do. If you have that going on anywhere with anybody in your life, I'm going to invite you to do Ho'oponopono there so you can set yourself free and set them free. Claim your sovereignty and give them their sovereignty. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. We are all souls on this journey with our own unique curriculum. I don't have your answers. I have my answers, and my answers can maybe catalyze you to hear your answers from within. That's all it is. But every one of us has our own answers. And sometimes we need different time periods and different information and different ways to access those answers. But we're each sovereign souls on our own journey, our own learning journey here, and we need to set each other free. We need to set ourselves free. And that's what Ho'oponopono is doing. Another prayer with the Ho'oponopono is, I bless you and release you. I bless you and I release you. I bless and release myself from you. This is how we create clear orbit for us to move in the world. Imagine the planets with all kinds of strings and all kind of energetic stuff interfering with their natural gravitational pull. It would be a mess. It's the same with us human beings. We need to restore our orbit and allow people their orbit. And we might interact in our orbits, but my orbit is my orbit and your orbit is your orbit. So the statement of immunity that I was talking about is holo holo, I don't know. Holo holo, I don't know. The divine, I don't know. The humble, I don't know. The recognition that, yeah, I only see like this much of a picture. And I surrender to that. I surrender my ego. I surrender my ideas of thinking that I know better. I know what they need. No, we don't. Actually, I should maybe look and say, oh, maybe I need that because I'm projecting that on them. So wait a minute, maybe that's the medicine I need. And they're bringing that up for me to look at in me. One finger is pointing that way, three are pointing back at me. Always. Always. No exceptions. It might take a while to decipher what it is, because sometimes it's not that obvious, right? Just because I see somebody abusing somebody doesn't mean I'm an abuser like them. But, oh, maybe I have moments where I abuse myself emotionally, mentally. Maybe I have unintentionally, emotionally abused somebody else. And we all have unintentionally through our unconsciousness. So we need to be really humble and own that. We're all narcissists at times. Whenever our way of being is being challenged and there's a trauma behind that way of being, we defend, we rise up. We access that narcissist part that says, no, my truth is true and yours is not. A part of our makeup, no judgment, but we have to own it. We have to acknowledge, yes, I have an inner narcissist too. And it comes up in these and these and these moments. And you know what? Once we know that, it doesn't have the power anymore to unconsciously harm other people because we know it, we can keep in check, but we have to acknowledge it first. So whatever we're pointing out there, we have to put the mirror and we have to look at where is this a part of me? And maybe sometimes it's ancestry. It can be too, stuff we're carrying, right? But there's always a lesson in it for us. So holo holo, I don't know. That's the statement of immunity. When you feel your brain trying to twist and figure things out, you know, holo holo, I let it go. Because there's more pieces in the universe at play right now than I can see. But again, like going back to the beginning, but if I keep taking action and steps towards where I want to be, towards the person I want to be, towards what I want to create, as long as I'm moving in that direction, these pieces are going to fall into place and they're going to surprise me. So ho'oponopono, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And here, this is a beautiful elder from Big Island, 𝗏𝗏𝙗𝙗. He passed on a long time ago. I never got to meet him, but I've been influenced by his teachings. And I wanted to put this slide in here too, and please feel free to take a screenshot if you like it. And it just touches it. Love all you see with humility. Live all you feel with reverence. Know all you possess with the heart of discipline. With love, with love, with love. 𝗏𝗏𝙗𝙗. That's really what it is. But to get to love, we need to have presence and we need to have awareness. So there we go. So I went into all this without going through the slides. Okay, so let's go back to the Ho'oponopono now that we're doing there. So we'll do this one here now. So keep breathing. Keep breathing. And bring your attention and awareness to a time, a memory when you felt love and loved. That warmth, it's like a sun. It feels like a sun in the heart center. And feel and let that expand through you. It can be a memory with a person, a pet, a moment in nature. Feel it and direct, feel that sun and like an emanating sun, feel it radiating through your whole body and expanding into your energy field. Feel that love in for 5, out for 5. And wherever you feel any snagging energies, just do the Ho'oponopono. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And then feel that energy expand into the space you're in and into your environment. So your energy field is literally blessing the environment because you're in a heightened frequency of love and gratitude. Keep breathing. Now send that breath, that energy to your whole neighborhood. Feel it like a rising sun growing. Keep expanding it beyond, 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 until you're seeing the orb of light from around you is extending and wrapping around the entire earth. And you're breathing in and out, and you're doing Ho'oponopono for the whole collective consciousness of humanity. All the pieces that you were a part of. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. So you're hugging the world with Ho'oponopono. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. All the animals, all the creatures, all the trees, all the nature. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And then expanding further to all galaxies as far as you can even imagine and beyond what you can imagine. And you're radiating. And the thing is, the 𝗏𝗂𝗃, where my attention goes, my energy flows, and that's what grows. So we're growing. This is a real thing. We are now throwing this pebble in the water, the sea of energy around us, and it is rippling, and it does ripple that far. That's how powerful we are. And the beautiful thing is love and light travels faster than hate. It's too dense to travel fast. So the light can wash us clean and wash the world clean. And you can do this little meditation daily if you feel so called. Take 5 minutes in the morning. It doesn't have to take that long. And do the Ho'oponopono for the collective humanity, collective life. And it's a really beautiful thing to radiate that love. I do it all the time. I do it on the buses. I do it in the grocery stores. I do it everywhere. And sometimes I don't see any conflict around me, but I just say, wherever there's Ho'oponopono needed right now, wherever that love, wherever I'm a part of something that is going on in somebody, that their conflict, I just do the Ho'oponopono. So it's become such a part of my life that it's just like, it's just there. And it's just natural. It's not effort. It's just, it's an automatic. And it's very beautiful. And it evolves me and grows me. So connect to that miracle of life, connect to the miracle of you and the power that you have to do this, to affect and influence the reality around you. You do, but you don't do it to get a result. You just do it with the confidence knowing as I grow and I shift and I heal and I change, it is an automatic ripple effect that everything else will. How it will change, we don't know. Some people might want to go closer to you, some might walk away. Right? Sometimes it might bring destruction of something, so something new can come. We don't know what will come from it, but we do know 100%. Law of attraction, law of magnetism, law of resonance, law of harmonics. What I emanate, I create. I draw to me. And that's why we want to get to know all of our subconscious parts, because our consciously we might be radiating love, but we've got these other subconscious parts that are radiating hate and anger and judgment and intolerance and fear and whatever. And so in these other places, they're interrupting the frequency that we're wanting to be constant in. And that's why we have to be conscious. That's why we have to discover our subconscious energy so that we can be congruent in our frequency more, right? We're human. There's always going to be stuff coming up, but it becomes less frequent and a little less intense. So really breathe in this miracle of you. There's a book called Power versus Force. His name is also Hawkins, like the scientist guy, but it's not him. And through kinesiology, he claims a measurement. He measures frequencies, and he measured that when one person does the inner alchemy of transforming anger into humor or love or something positive, a higher frequency than what that anger is. When one human being in a moment of heightened, and it's like puts the brakes on and then really, really shifts it and puts the effort to shift the frequency of their state of being. He measured that one person doing that the power that's generated and the goodness that's generated from that affects 800,000 people. When I read that, I'm like, wow. I knew my healing wasn't just about me, but now I really know it's not just about me. And so that gave me fuel and fodder to be even more committed, because I want to be what I was born to be, which is a beneficial force on earth that is life sustaining, not life destroying. Right? And it's our patterns that are born from trauma and unresolved pain and hurt that we unintentionally destroy ourselves and others and everything, right? So we are born to be like nature. We're here to contribute. We're here to blossom and thrive. And that's who I want to be. And so that's who I am. You know, and if there's an earthquake or something happens, well, it doesn't take me down anymore like it used to. I've gone through so much, and and I'm so grateful that I've been able to embody the things that I've learned in a way that there were times I didn't even know if that would be possible. And it doesn't mean I don't have challenges. It just means that when they come, I'm able to navigate them so much better. And, they rarely take me down. And if they do, it's just for a brief knockout. That's it. And then I'm back up. So feel the miracle of you. Feel the miracle of the gift of you, just moment to moment to moment. Not just, oh, I have this big vision. No, moment to moment to moment. You radiating your love, you being in alignment with you. That is your gift to life. That is your purpose, first and foremost. And then that can lead to other things. But that's all of our purpose, first and foremost. Now connect to the gratitude in your heart, feeling that magic, that grace, that goodness. Give thanks. Give thanks for every moment that brought you here. Give thanks for every coping mechanism and issue that you've had, through your subconscious, survival patterns. Thank them. Say, thank you, thank you, thank you. You brought me this far, but now I'm going to learn a new way. Now there's a new way for me, but thank you. Without those coping mechanisms, without my ego, without my moments of narcissism at times, I would not have made it here. I needed it at that time because I didn't have the tools, the elevated tools to navigate and to heal, but now I do. And just give thanks. Give thanks to all of you, all of your past selves. Feel that ripple of love washing over all your past selves, releasing any and all self-judgment that you've ever cast towards yourself in the past. Clear it. Let it go. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Deep breath in for 5, out for 5. To all your past selves, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I'm sorry for not knowing what I didn't know, that I now know. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. It's all a part of it. We're not born in our biology knowing everything. Our soul knows, probably, I would guess, pretty much has access to everything, but our biology doesn't. And it takes time to integrate spirit and biology to find that harmonic way of the two operating systems to work together. So love yourself. Love all the attempts you've ever made. Love yourself. Give yourself a ginormous hug right now. And feel that hug, really. Feel the universe hugging you. Because it's huge that you're here. It shows that you're wanting to grow beyond where you are now into more wholeness and more harmony. And that's a beautiful goal. So now tell yourself, I love me. I love me. I love all the me's of me. And really feel it. Really, really feel it. And I'm hoping that through this whole process that you can really feel that more strongly, more true than ever before. Embrace your power to love and heal yourself. And you've always had this power, and now it's just time to use it intentionally, consciously. 𝗪𝗵𝘁. Being present, being aware, being in love. Manava ike aloha. And this concludes the presentation. Thank you so very much for spending your precious time with me. I'm really, really grateful. Really, really, really grateful. And I hope that you gain some glimpses and some insights and some new thoughts and new ways to navigate your inner world that brings you back into your wholeness more completely. And I'm going to be finishing here, and then we'll have a bit of conversation time afterwards when I stop recording. Thank you. Oops. Oh yes, this one here too. This is just a little brief. If you feel like working with me, you can take a screenshot and get the email address, and we can have a conversation and see if that's something that resonates. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for attending. Bye.